Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with the beautiful Beastie Boys, gonna be taking them up against the Greenskins. So let's get to the builds. Been playing a lot of Support Lord builds, and I do think that the Beast Lord is one of the best Support Lords in the game, due to the fact that he's got 2 melee attack buffs, which is quite rare, Apocalyptic Vision and Horn of the First Beast. Apocalyptic Vision gives leadership and melee attack, Horn of the First Beast gives, of course, charge bonus, leadership, and melee attack. He's also got Bloodlust for additional armor-piercing damage, making him a quite cost-effective support Lord. He's also got high charge bonus, good armor-piercing weapon strength, decent armor, not the best melee stats, but 103 charge bonus on that chariot is pretty legit, even charging single entity models. We've also got some Centaurs with great weapons, a couple units of them, as well as the Sons of Goros already tied up with a couple Goblin Wolf Riders here. We've got some Centaurs with throwing axes, 2 groups of them, 4 Ungor Spearman Herd. We've got a couple more regiments of renown here. The Eye of Morslib, a staple of any Beastmen build here, just super powerful in general with that warp gaze, of course, a hard snare, massive armor-piercing missile damage, and very accurate. We've also got the Butchers of Kalkengard, the regenerating, terror-causing Minotaurs with shields with their 60 melee defense and regeneration, very, very tanky. Of course, 110 total weapon strength, 77 armor piercing, and the shields do make a difference for Minotaurs, most certainly. They give them additional armor, 55% missile block chance, and higher melee defense. Of course, the Butchers of Kalkengard, again with the regeneration, going to be even that much tankier, and against the Greenskins, since they don't have any fire damage, they are a very safe pick here. We've also got a Brave Shaman Lore of Wild with Devolve and Mantle of Garok. Mantle of Garok, very good support spell. Gives tons of melee attack, weapon strength, and armor piercing. At the cost of a bit of armor, since Beastmen are generally low armor anyway, it doesn't really matter too much. We've also got Devolve, which is good at leadership bombing, particularly against the Greenskins, which already generally have low leadership. If we can snipe a Lord maybe, and get these terror-causing units in the right situation, we can maybe get a terror route going. For my opponent, he's got Wurzag, definitely a staple of any competitive Greenskin build. Let's see here, got Here We Go and Foot of Gork, so going with a bit of a cheaper loadout with more of the bigger spells. No Squiggly Beast and no Bonewood Staff. Personally, I like to run with the Bonewood Staff, Squiggly Beast, and some of the cheaper spells like Here We Go. Here We Go's not necessarily cheap, but it's definitely good to have. But like Here We Go, I would say Brain Burst and probably Fists of Gork would be my preferred loadout here. But anyway, we've got a couple Goblin Big Bosses, a Ragnarok Spider, Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggins, which is an absolute mouthful. That's like, what, 6 words? We've also got some Black Orcs, plenty of Savage Orcs and Savage Orc Biggins as well. We've got some Goblin Archers here. Looks like the Rusty Heirs. So yeah, pretty decent Greenskin build. And the Savage Orcs in particular, Savage Orc Biggins are just a nightmare for the Beastmen to deal with. And the Spiders can be as well. You know, the Terror definitely good against the Beastmen. The big armor-piercing armored monster can be tough for them to take down. But you can see I'm doing my best Beastmen skirmish here. We did manage to take down the Wolf Riders there. And so going to be winning that mobility advantage, which is always key as the Beastmen. You can see we're doing some good skirmish damage for the Savage Orcs there, and I have more Slave dropping some rocks. You can see I kind of spread out my Ungor Spearmen to these various places just to act as speed bumps. See if we can't pull some of my opponent's Savage Orcs in different directions. I don't really mind if the Ungor Spearmen get slaughtered there. It's more or less what they're there for, as long as they do so in a way that, you know, makes their deaths useful, certainly. The Brave Shaman's going to get in here, drop a nice Devolve, which then follow up with the Butchers of Kalkengard, provides a nice terror route, terrifying away some of those Savage Orcs. We also put a Mantle of Garok on those Ungor Spearman Herd, who are juicing up the kills right now, doing a ton of burst damage to those Savage Orc Boar Biggins. Just look at them get tanked there, and that's most of the damage coming from the Ungor Spearman Herd there. Of course, the Butchers of Kalkengard providing more of a terror route, and the Centaurs also coming in, doing some nice armor-piercing damage there. You can see the Spider's going to get caught out in a little bit of a situation where we're hitting it with the throwing axes. We had it pinned down with the what's it called there? warp gaze, but a very nice foot of gore going to go down by my opponent. I'm forced to respond to something here, and unfortunately that is going to get a lot of the Centaurs and Ungors. Thankfully for me, though, of course, the Butchers of Kalkengard going to be pretty decent here, won't be affected too much by that foot of Gork. And yeah, you can see another devolve going down there. Unfortunately, Black Orcs are immune to psychology, so they're going to be able to continue fighting here, but Ungor Spearman Herd, not surprisingly, being routed off around the field. We did get some Centaurs in here to the cookie jar, so to speak, to start taking out those Goblin Archers. That has shifted the balance of power pretty well. Looks like a effigy to get going down on the Eye of Morsleep here, and Wurzag going to try and buff everything up. We had brought in the Beast Lord here. I totally missed it. This Arachnarok Spider just got bursted down. The Beast Lord came in, dropped all his support buffs, and I was hoping to catch the Butchers of Kalkengard's stats once those buffs were all up. But we'll have to imagine that they were just absolutely insane. I'm sure one of you in the comments will actually math it out for us, but yeah, the Beast Lord came in, dropped the buffs, even charging in himself on that armor-piercing chariot. Just did a ton of burst damage and actually routed off that spider very, very quickly. And that is going to leave the Greenskins in a very vulnerable situation. Unfortunately, the Brave Shaman gets routed off there, but Butchers of Kalkengard, again, just fighting tooth and nail here. We've been kind of ping-ponging them around, trying to take advantage of that regeneration. Wurzag, meanwhile, is getting caught up in the middle of them, and, you know, with their very heavy weapon strength, they'll definitely put a beating on heroic units like Wurzag. Meanwhile, we're pulling back with the CYGOR, see if we can't pitch a few more rocks down into, like, say, these Savage Orcs running up the hill, who are just going to get clipped there, and quite a few of them going for a ride down the hill. And, man, the CYGORs are absolutely beautiful. And we'll just imagine, enjoy, rather, the CYGOR with the rainbow behind him, you know, just point blank, chucking rocks, with the Minotaurs also kind of pulling back there. Centaurs are throwing axes, continuing to throw their axes, just about used up all of them there. So finishing off those Black Orcs, you can see Wurzag also getting chased off by the Beast Lord, and those Centaurs there. Just in general, the Greenskins are in a bit of disarray there, so not too much longer until we hit critical army losses. So yeah, we'll just continue to soak up the cinematics. It's a huge mass of Centaurs just charges in on this regrouped unit of Savage Orcs, quickly routing them away. Butchers of Kalkengard, the few that remain, also following up as well. And the CYGOR looking like he's maybe going to pitch a rock here. Not sure. Maybe wants to, but the battle's going to end regardless. Very fun battle. Well played by my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. In terms of the army breakdown here, I mean, yeah, Eye of Morsleep, absolute force of nature, no pun intended. 112 kills, and that Warp Gaze being very key in kind of controlling the pace of the battle, in particular that Arachnarok Spider. I was able to do a lot of damage to the infantry, then in the key engagement there, kind of isolate the spider and do a ton of burst damage. Sorry I didn't catch the stats of the Butchers of Kalkengard. I really wanted to grab that for you guys, but nonetheless, 63 kills on them. Just in general, sticking around until the late game, and you kind of want to use these guys almost like a shock unit. You know, you charge them in, when they start to take some heat, you pull them back out, because that regeneration, you know, it doesn't necessarily resurrect unit models, but if you can keep their unit model count up, they will be able to regenerate a lot of the damage that they take, in particular because of their high melee defense. So just keep an eye on them, and if you see their health starting to drop pretty severely, just pull them back and continue to, you know, kind of cycle charge them, ping pong them around to take advantage of that good charge bonus and charge animation, and just generally they'll give you some really good dividends. Centaurs with great weapons also cleaning up quite a few kills, 96 here, 126 on the Sons of Goros, definitely cost effective, wiped out pretty much all those Goblin Wolf Riders right off the bat. And just in doing so, we were able to win a pretty decisive mobility advantage with the Greenskins. Definitely, like most of my opponent's build here, he had some really good touches. Already kind of talked about Wurzag's spell selection there. The main line's pretty solid. Personally, I would probably say you could cut this Black Orc and use that to go a little bit wider on your mobility. So what's that? About 1,100 points. So just in terms of what you could turn that into, like even just grabbing a couple of Spider Riders for that cost, and maybe doling out some chevrons to the Spider Riders and the Wolf Riders, and then deploying them a little bit further back, you know, maybe still slightly in Vanguard, but let me show you guys something here. If we go ahead and go to the Greenskins, and we'll go ahead and just throw something down But I just wanted to show you guys a trick about Vanguard deployment in particular, but just in general in terms of that army build, you know, with the extra 1100, you could, in theory, grab a couple of Spider Riders, you know, give them some chevrons, even up to like 500, 550, so, you know, silver chevrons, or if you wanted to give some to Wolf Riders, you know, you could definitely do so as well. Just in general, juicing up their combat stats will make them trade pretty cost effectively against the lower armor, higher value CYGORs, because CYGORs don't necessarily have the best combat stats in the world. Just as a quick comparison here before I show you this Vanguard trick, CYGORs, you know, CYGORs, the Grey Weapons, for example, don't have the best combat stats in the world. I mean, granted, you are going to be having that Primal Fury up, so the melee attack will go up slightly, but in general, chevroned Forest Goblin Spider Riders and Wolf Riders will trade very cost effectively with those great weapons. Now, that being said, the Sons of Goros do have better armor and combat stats, so be aware of them, but just in general, the low tier Greenskin Cav with chevrons will face very well against, you know, your Beastmen light cavalry. So just very quickly here, one note about Vanguard deployment. I wanted to show you very quickly. This is maybe not the best map to do so on, but just in general, if you expect, you know, your opponent to go heavy on the Vanguard, if you're facing a faction that can particularly Vanguard very heavily, I would recommend that you, and I can actually see my opponent's force here, but I would recommend you don't deploy too far ahead. You can sometimes Vanguard deploy in certain situations, but like you see this space here, kind of the CYGOR out to this white line right here. Try and picture that space in your mind in front of your line, because this exists for your opponent as well, right? Like, I can't deploy directly in front of this line, so if you imagine in front of your deployment zone, you kind of have this small buffer zone as well. And if you want to Vanguard more safely, Vanguard inside of this zone, and it's something you kind of just have to picture in your mind's eye, or you know, even if you try and measure it somehow. Not really sure how you would, but just kind of try and picture that, and maybe don't go too far ahead of your own deployment zone, but you can kind of safely Vanguard deploy in this area, let's say, and you won't necessarily be in danger of getting Vanguard deployed right on top of, which is more or less what happened to those Wolf Riders. Bit unfortunate there, but yeah, definitely if you're able to win the mobility advantage as the Greenskins against the Beastmen, it can be very tough for the Beastmen to win that particular matchup. The Sons of Goros, or sorry, the Butchers of Kalkengard, definitely tough to deal with, as is the Eye of Morslid, but in general, I think if you're to eliminate the CYGOR threat, suddenly that army becomes a lot less scary. So I think just dropping that one unit of Black Orcs and going with some chevrons, Spider Riders, and tossing some chevrons of the Wolf Riders as well, I think would have been a very, very solid pick and made that army legitimately scary for me to go up against. So hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.